Day.1 review. This episode is brought to us by Novellus, our new podcast partner and old friends of ours. It's great to be on board with Novellus. So a big welcome to you guys. Any questions you have? In a minute we'll have Freddie Nielsen joining us now. I want Freddie to jump on because for two reasons. He's the coach of Elmer Muller, and Elmer Muller played against Francis Tiafoe today, and that I want to get the insights into that. But he's also the Davis Cup captain of Denmark. And today one of the surprises of many surprises that have happened here at Wimbledon is that Holger Rune went out early in the event. Again, he's not quite putting it together, Holger, in these big events. He was also joined by Popperin, who went out, lost to Arthur Ferry, the young British player. Now, Arthur Ferry's someone I remember seeing him play at under 10s, and he's the most skillful under 10 player I think I've ever seen, but he was 4 foot nothing at that age, and he's not a tall boy. He's someone that's well worth watching, guys. If you get a chance to watch Arthur Ferry play, he plays with an incredible game style. Serve volleys, comes forward, does so much. And has got incredible skill. Played at University of Stanford and had a win over Popperin today. Serendulo has also gone out. We've then got the youngster Oliver Tarveit. Now he's not a player that I know, but I know he came through qualifying. He's a US college player, young British lad, and he beat Riedi in the first round. So to come through all the way through qualifying and then into the second round main draw. A friend of mine, someone who I used to coach, someone who I love to bits, I want to get on the podcast, Billy Harris. He won in straight sets over Lajovic today. And then the other big British one that we have to talk about, anyone that listened to the live stream last night, I did tell the boys this. Sine Cartel had a win, and Freddie's coming in at the wrong time because he already thinks I celebrate these results too much. But Sine Cartel had a win over Ostapenko, and we discussed last night that just maybe that game style would match up. Behind me, you might see on the TV over there, we got Katie Bolter as well against Badosa. I think we all picked that to be a tight match. It's into the third set. And then we had also Stefanos Tsitsipas. The 24th seed went out 2-love down and retired. And as Freddie Nielsen joins us, this is my first thing I want to ask Freddie about, and we've talked about it a lot, but I think it's fascinating, is this players born in the 1980s won 80 Grand Slams, that's on the men's side. Players born in the 90s won 2. And we already have players born in the 2000s that have won 8. 3 Yannick Sinner and 5 Carlos Alcaraz. It feels like the 90s babies are disappearing before our eyes. Medvedev going down today, Tsitsipas going down today. The players that once were the players that maybe we were talking about as the next hopes to come and take men's tennis on board just doesn't seem to be happening for them, huh?
No, it doesn't, and it's tough to see it turn around now, as you said. I mean, something. I mean, it shows. It seems like Medvedev has peaked. It's tough to see him get back to the same kind of level. We wouldn't rule it out from a quality player, but it certainly seems like there was something missing in that generation. I think some of the players from the '90s, people expected more from them, but it is a peculiar thing. I don't know if they're a victim of coming after a very strong generation or what it is, but it is a little bit peculiar that there is no standout players from the '90s.
Maybe if we were born in the 90s, Freddie, we maybe could have been players. It was just unfortunate for us that we were born in the 80s, and there were so many good players in the 80s we couldn't get past. Unlucky us, really. I mean, that's
That's the
basically
problem.
why.
You
That was
hit
our
you
issue.
hit the nail on the head there. You hit the nail on the head there. That's it. That's the only thing that held us back. That was the year we were born.
My
But it
forehand
is
return
strange. I
had
mean,
no reason.
it's certainly worth looking into why that happened. I mean, especially coming through, there were some of the guys that were really touted as being like the next big thing. So it's a strange one.
It really is. Now, Freddie, first of all, thanks for jumping on. I know,
You got
you
it.
know, you had Elma today, and then you've got August Holmgren plays tomorrow as well. Firstly, tell us how was Elma's match? He played Francis Tiafoe today. How was that match? How did they deal with the heat? How was it out there? Did the match go as you expected? Give us your insights into that one.
It looked like the heat was tough, but I don't think it affected the match too much. It was also quite short. I think Elma did as well as he could with where he is in his tennis life right now. He has some challenges that he can kind of get away with at the level he's operating at the most. But on a grass court against one of the best players in the world, it's you can't really hide those things, and those things are his serve and the first serve return. He's very good returning second serves. But the first serve return is tough, and today especially, and in general, his serve is just not up to level compared to the other guys in top 100. And like I said, he can kind of get away with it at challenger level, where if he gets into a rally, he's elite. I mean, he plays at such a good level from both sides, and he can play along at every tempo. And his big strength is that he's got such a powerful backhand. And after having developed his forehand as well as he had, there's not really anywhere to hide when he's on his game and gets into the rallies. But the problem is there's not enough opportunities to get into the rallies because Tiafoe he got the first strike in way too often with either the first serve or a strong return. So he did well. It was his first ever grass court match. There was just a big gulf in level, and Tiafoe was a more accomplished all round player on grass, and I think the score showed that. But I can't fault Elmer's performance. I think it would be unrealistic to expect more of him, especially having never played on grass. And he did a good effort trying to get ready for it in training. So it was okay.
Do you think, just a one on that jumps to mind? Obviously, we're both coaches. We're both passionate coaches. We love the sport of tennis. When we think of certainly junior coaching and junior tennis, you think about how you set up your drills, right? Or you set up your practice, and you tend to set it up in a way where lots of balls are hit. There's rhythm. There's there's half court. There's four players on a court. You're playing half court exercises. And that's one thing that certainly amazes me, and certainly in the doubles tour, if people were to kind of hang around the doubles courts, it's unbelievable how much serve and return happens. Like even match warm up, my guys will do about 12 minutes of the other stuff, and they'll do about 18 minutes of serve and return if they've got half an hour. And obviously serve and return are very dominant in doubles. But do you think maybe we do neglect the importance of the serve, and because it's not necessarily an ordered practice, it's a bit chaotic. It doesn't look so good. Someone's missing serves, and then more serves are missed, and then okay, one's in, and then we shank a return, and maybe when parents are paying money for that, that coaches kind of feel like, oh, that's not looking great. That's not really, do you think we're guilty of that as tennis coaches? It's a generalization, of course.
Yeah, 100%. And one of my other pet peeves that I fall into the same trap sometimes, and I try to be very uh, consciously aware of it. Is serves practice is always at the end of practice.
Yes.
You do all these things, you warm up and you do this, and then the last 20 minutes you serve when you're tired and you're maybe not confident enough, especially when you're young. And then it just becomes and it's something that we try to do a lot, and it's not easy, but we try to do it a lot. I would rather have them serve 20 serves less at a higher quality. And sometimes you get in a lot. I see people just get into the rhythm of just serving from the basket, just kind of mindless. And especially also because there's also a big difference in serving just to serve and serving to play the next one. I think I remember that for myself. I feel like I was a much I found myself many times being more comfortable just serving the serve, and as soon as I knew I had to play the next point, I would kind of lose my technical discipline on my serve.
Yeah.
and I definitely think that there's way it's way undervalued, 100%. I completely agree with you on that is in that sense, and also honing the technique early on and making sure that you don't have to reinvent your serve. I don't think you have to have a flawless technique when you're young, but I do think that there can't be too many issues that you would have to really deal with when you get older.
Yeah. And my last question, while I've got you, Freddie, um, Davis Cup captain, we talked about last night, obviously fantastic the way that Danish tennis is going, very much led by the superstar that is Holger Rune, and the one that we talk about, and we talk very fondly of Holger on the podcast. He's been on the podcast. He's someone that I know you're very fond of, spend time with. But going out to Nicholas Jarry today in 5 sets, and another Grand Slam, it feels like another Grand Slam has kind of come and gone for Holger without him quite, well, obviously going out in the first round, not putting himself in a position to be that player that we all know that he can be. I don't know if you had a chance to see any of that one today.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, first of all, it was a horrible draw. Let's be honest. I mean, the guy came through qualies. He's a former top 20 player. He has a huge game for grass.
Yeah,
He can take your the ball out of your racket, and that's kind of what happened when he turned it around today. He started serving absolute nukes, and
yeah,
it's uncomfortable. And especially on grass, you don't really have the same ability as you do on other surfaces. To just kind of, I'm just gonna kind of roll a ball in here and try to find my rhythm. And you could kind of sense that after I thought Holger came out to a great start, and then when it kind of after the 2 sets and Jari turned it around, you had that feeling that he was getting the momentum, and there was he had a break point in the fifth set, and Jari just served an ace as if it was the most expected thing in the world. It's a real shame for Holger. I mean, I think we all had expected and hoped a lot for him, and himself too. And yeah, when you this also just shows how many good players there are, right? And but you do feel like when you draw qualifying, you get a guy who's actually a top 20, top 30 caliber player.
hmm
It's somewhere hidden in him. There's that quality, and
yeah,
I've coached another player at I play when I coached Michael Emo at the he's at at Bostad. It felt like he was. Sorry, I have some technical problems here. It felt like his racket was 500 kilos heavy, and the ball was so heavy. The serve and the ground strokes.
yeah,
It just seemed like he was playing with a cheat code racket. And when he's on his game, he is so dangerous. And he was today. He seemed very composed mentally, inspired by the crowd, and just played served it out really comfortably. So I think you got to give Jerry credit for that
yeah.
turnaround. And obviously, where we feel for Holger, it was a shame, but I don't feel it's one of those where you think he blew it at such. I think it's
Yeah.
more so that the other guy won it.
Um, it's a very tennis has become a very precarious situation in every draw, right? And it does feel that I was speaking at French Open to, I won't give names, but to someone who was once upon a time a big part of Andy Murray's team, and that narrows it down to about maybe 12 people because there's lots of people that have, so people can speculate. But this person said to me, it just isn't what it once was. So these guys could turn up even 10, 12, 15 years ago, and you knew that they could put in a 50, 60% level performance in round one and two, and they played their way into the tournament. Whereas it now feels like from the off, we've seen it with Carlos Alcaraz today. Obviously he got through in 4 hours, 37 minutes, but everyone, Carlos Alcaraz has won Wimbledon the last 2 years, Roland Garros the last 2 years, has just won Queens, is the hottest property in men's tennis right now. Yeah, he turns up and plays someone who's lost 10 first rounds in a row. Okay, it's his
Mm.
63rd Grand Slam in Fognini. However,
And maybe his last Wimbledon.
And well, it was lovely. It was a lovely moment at the end. I don't know if you saw the end, but I think
I did not know.
I think it was his last Wimbledon from what he's been saying. And Alcaraz, in true Carlos Alcaraz style, made it very much about Fognini as the match ended. And there was a couple of tears I think there in Fabio's. Which, in fact, just quickly before we go, I have to share the story. I don't know if you remember it, but I was with you in Rome about 13 years ago. It would be now, and we had a warm up court. It was court 5 behind where the doubles matches are going on, and we were on court after Serena Williams was on the court, and me, you, and Josh Ward Hibbert were waiting to go and hit at the 5 p.m. slot, and it was like 5:01, and I think we were all a little bit, "Ooh, do we go on the court? It's Serena Williams, and Fabio walked past, and as always happens when I'm with you at a tennis tournament, all the players know and love you, Freddie. And he was like, and you were like, how's things? And he was like, shit, not playing well, and I've got to play Rafa on centre court tomorrow. He said, are you boys hitting? He just played his doubles match, lost his doubles match. Are you boys hitting? Yeah, can I hit with you? Yep. Which court you got? This one. What time? 5. He goes, it's 5:01. And he just walked on. Moratoglu was feeding a ball to Serena Williams, and Fabio just walked on in the middle of the court and said, "We've got this court." And that was a lovely moment. And I remember Josh Ward Hibbert, bless him. I don't know if he's listening, but Josh was not always the smoothest with the ground strokes. So seeing Josh next to Fabio Fognini was something to behold. But yeah, what a great career he has had. Freddie, you've been a star as
Yeah.
always. You go and get prepared for tomorrow. Good luck to
Yeah.
August,
Thanks.
and all
Thank
the
you.
very
Have a
best.
good one.
Take care. Thanks for joining us. So there
You
we have
got
it,
it. Bye.
guys. We've jumped in. We've obviously had the Carlos Alcaraz, which was almost the big shock of the day. He made his way through. I'm not convinced that he wanted to have 4 hours 37 minutes in his legs at this stage of the tournament, but that's what he had. On the other side of the draw, in terms of the WTA, the women's draw, we had Amanda Anisimova, my favourite, the one I pick every time. They won't let me have her as a dark horse. She was on court for about 43 minutes today. She beat Putintseva, and that's not easy draw at all, but she beat a 6-love, 6-love. Anyone that listened last night, Kieran Vorster called the darkest of the dark horses of all times in Wickmeyer, and who was obviously once upon a time a fantastic player, but is coming to the end of her career, has not won many games this year, but he picked her as the dark horse, and unfortunately she didn't live up to Kieran Vorster's dark horse prediction, and she lost 6-love, 6-3 to Zarazua from Mexico today. We still have more matches on as we are talking. I will pull up a couple of the scores to see how Katie Bolter is going in her absolute tussle with. It's 4-all in the third with Paolo Badosa. Naomi Osaka came through in 2 tight sets. Jasmine Paolini came back from a set down. We didn't talk about it with Freddie, but we talked about it last night. Emma Raducanu had a potential banana skin in Mimi Zhu, the young Brit, but she took care of business 6-3, 6-3. A one for you to keep your eyes out on, guys. Vondrousova. We know that Kessler can play. She's one of the seeds. Vondrousova beat her in straight sets today. She now plays Emma Raducanu, and the winner of that match will likely have the world number 1, Arina Sabalenka, in the third round. We know that is a big section of the draw to watch out for. Madison Keys, 7-5, and the third winner over Ruse today. Not an easy match. None of these matches are easy. She found her way through that. We had on the men's side just a couple more results on the men's side. We've had Lehecka. I like Lehecka a lot. He's a one to watch. He won in 4 sets today. We had Cameron Norrie with a win over Batista Agut. We had Jordan Thompson, always great on the grass, the Aussies. 2 sets to love down. He came back and won in 5 sets. We've then also had Felix Auger Aliassime against a great grass court player, really good grass court player in James Duckworth. He won that one in 5 sets as well. Yao Fonseca. We all love Yao. He played Jacob Fernley. That was going to be a big match, but he took care of him in straight sets today. Rublev's just won a tight 4-setter. There's lots and lots of tennis that's happening. We've as I'm talking, I see Taylor Fritz, who was moved to court number 1. Turn on your TVs. He's a set down to Pericard, and I think we all knew that was the real round 1 that nobody wanted. He's like a linebacker. Pericard serves out of a tree, hits a big ball, and he's already a set down to him. So that's going to be a great match to watch. If you do have any more questions, send them in. We do have a question here. Before we go, I want to keep these live streams pretty short for you guys to get involved in, these little podcasts for you to listen to. I might do them not every day. I'll try my very best around 8 p.m. UK time. Please bear with me if I'm a few minutes late. Sometimes it is running from one side of All England Club to another to find a spot to speak to you guys from. But how are the players dealing with the heat has come through from a couple of you. I think that's something everyone wants to know, right? 34 degrees here in London and in Wimbledon, and I guess the challenging one was the 4 hour 37 Carlos Alcaraz. Maybe they had a little bit of luck that on centre court the shadow starts coming over. I haven't heard of anybody suffering. I know Ons Jabeur wasn't feeling so well. I heard that from the girls this morning, that she wasn't well before the match in the locker room. She withdrew at 7-6, 2 love down, but I don't think that was heat related. I think in general people have dealt with it okay. The challenging thing, as ever for everyone, is how you probably see me. I'm sweating right now and I'm inside. It's just not easy to cool down. And I've had that conversation with a few players today. How are you staying cool in the house? A lot of people rent houses here at Wimbledon, and it's not many houses in Southfields or Wimbledon come with air conditioning. If you're in a hotel, maybe. But even I was in a hotel at Queen's, and UK hotels don't do such a good job on air conditioning. So those that do have that have an advantage, because you're waking up in the morning and you're a bit dehydrated. You haven't slept so well. It's not putting yourself in a great position. But so far, so good. Nobody seems to have struggled too much with it. And long may that continue. We have another hot day here. Some of the matches for us to look forward to tomorrow. We have Barbara Krejcikova. She starts obviously as the defending champion on centre court against Iala, and that's a one that I think is going to be a very, very difficult match for her. We've got Iga Swiatek back on the grass courts. We've got this Alicia Parks against Bencic, which I think is an interesting one. And I also think the Yastremska Coco Golf match tomorrow will be really interesting. That's not an easy match for Coco going into that. And then the one that we spoke about last night, Petra Kvitova against Emma Navarro. Petra coming back from maternity leave. It's going to be fascinating to see. There's Daniela Hanchikova behind me. Anybody that's on the live stream, she's watching the Katie Bolton match, which is coming towards an end. And then on the men's side, we've got Novak Djokovic start his campaign. Ben Shelton against Alex Bolt. That's the one. Watch out for that. Alex Bolt, another Aussie who knows his way around a grass court. Ben Shelton, since he moved into top 10 in the world, hasn't won a match. So that one will be very, very interesting. Mute, who we picked out, that's a one to watch if you want to see a genius at work. We got the Frenchies, Gail Monfils against Hugo Humbert. I expect that to be a good match. Humbert can play on the grass, and Monfils is a fantastic competitor. And then we have Jack Draper starts his campaign. We heard "Come on Tim" for many years. We heard "Come on Andy" for many years. It's now "Come on Jack." Is he able to bring it home? You know how much the Brits love. Us Brits love to have someone do well at Wimbledon, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulders over the next couple of weeks if he can start his campaign well. We will be back as best as possible for tomorrow. Anybody's got any questions, get them in. We will answer your questions. We're going to be bringing different guests on. Tomorrow I'm going to look to bring actually one of the hitting partners here at Wimbledon. He's been hitting with Novak Djokovic. He's been hitting with Rebecca. Get a little bit of insight into how all of those guys are doing. But until next time, I'm Dan Kiernan, and we are control the controllables.